Can you reload 5.56 with pistol powder? Let's find out. So today we'll be shooting a short-barreled rifle at the range, chambered in 5.56. I built a number of these. This is an NFA gun. It's a registered short-barreled AR-15. It has an Adams upper on it with piston, 7.5 inch barrel length. Has a streamlight light on it, nothing special, and has an aim point sighting system on it. Now, this gun looks really cool, right? But there are inherent issues with short-barreled 5.56. One of which is, the muzzle velocity is not very high, and second is, well, what keeps me from shooting it more is this big muzzle blast you get from shooting just factory 5.56 ammo. So a couple of years ago, I tried to reload some different loads just to reduce the muzzle blast and the report of this gun so that it is more pleasant to shoot and still maintaining decent muzzle velocity, and I wasn't really very successful in doing this. But yesterday I was reloading some 300 Blackout, and if you look at the 300 Blackout on the left, which is a shortened 5.56 cartridge and then necked for a 30 caliber bullet, and this bullet is a Sierra Match King. It's a 125 grain 30 caliber bullet, basically in a 5.56 case. And looking at my reloading manual, you can see for 300 Blackout, it is calling for Hodgkin H110 powder, about 18.8 grains. And if you look at the Hodgkin H110, most of you know this, it's a pistol powder. So that's very interesting. And the reported muzzle velocity with the Hodgkin at 18.8 is supposedly 2,100 feet per second out of a 16-inch barrel. So if I can load a 300 Blackout with pistol powder, why couldn't I load a 5.56 with pistol powder and load it with a 55 grain bullet? And that's exactly what I did yesterday. So I took 18.8 grains of Hodgkin H110, loaded it, and we're going to take it to the range today. We're going to measure muzzle velocity and see what we get. Catching my brass. Well, let's shoot a control at 25 yards. I got some steel set up out there. And as a control, I have Wolf ammunition, cheap steel cased 55 grain bullets. And I'll show you what the muzzle blast is. It's pretty loud, so let's get that done.
2166. 2154.
Okay, 18.8 grains of pistol powder, Hodgkin 110. Let's see what happens.
$24.42.
Yeah, so this was the last round, 24.42. There's a lot less recoil, a lot less muzzle blast. I'm actually surprised that the muzzle velocity is that high. Here are my impacts at 25 yards, 7.5 inch barrel. So back in my workshop here, let's look at the data we have gotten. So the Russian surplus ammo gave me 2160 feet per second, and the 18.8 grain Hodgkin 110 gave me 24.42 feet per second, which is surprising. It's a faster muzzle velocity than the factory loads. And it's a fast burning powder, so maybe that's the reason, but I had some cycling issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load some 20 and 22 grain casings here. I got my reload press set up. I already resized my brass, put primers in it, so I just got to seat the bullets here. Uh, 2258. It's okay. $22.58. $22.53. Okay, so that's what we have for tomorrow. We're going to shoot the same ones we shot today. Actually, those were only 18 grains, not 18.8 grains of H110 powder. I checked my reloading manual right here. I only had 18 grains in there. So I go in increments of 2 grains. So I use the same dimensions, same primer, everything, same brass actually, 20 grains and 22 grains. We're going to shoot them tomorrow out of a 7.5 inch barrel. And we're going to verify the muzzle velocity with the 18 grainers. Because it didn't cycle and the muzzle velocity reads a little high. I hope I'll be coming in at 2500 plus tomorrow, because these little bullets, they do need 2500 feet per second for good terminal ballistics up on impact, so that they tumble and maybe even break up. So that's the goal. So back at the shooting range again, in an effort to reduce the muzzle blasts of my short-barreled rifle by using Hodgkin 110 pistol powder in 5.56 cartridges. So yesterday I reloaded 18, 20 and 22 grains of Hodgkin 110, and we'll be shooting it today to the chronograph and see if we can get reduced muzzle brake and hopefully a muzzle velocity of 2500 feet per second. That will be ideal. Magazine change, 2018, 2159, 2191. $18 grains of Hodgkin 110, 2467. Reloading issue. 2414. Reloading. 2427. $20 grains of Hodgkin 110. 2643. 2640. Reloading. 2631. 22 grains, Hodgkin 110. 2960. Reloading. 2928. Reloading. Ooh. Yeah. Maybe not reloading. Well, I think we reached the limit here. So I shot 2 of the 22 grain Hodgkin 110 rounds. The first one ejected, the second one jammed, and It's still in there. It's still in the chamber. So I need some tools to get this out. So definitely overpressure situation here. So I think we reached our limit. So let's get back to the workshop and find some conclusions. So I'm back at the workshop, and I took the gun apart, extracted the stuck casing that was stuck in the extractor right here. It came right out, no big deal. The gun is fine, everything is fine. So I looked at the brass, and at 18 grains of Hodgkin 110 powder, there are very slight signs of pressure, not too bad, just a little bit of an extractor imprint showing, which is in my mind perfectly normal. But then when we go up to 20 grains of powder, these are two casings that came out of 20 grains of powder, and if you look real close, there are some really severe markings on it already from the extractor, and this is already too much pressure on the cartridge. I think both of these ejected fine, but I think I'm at maximum pressure here at 20 grains of powder. And then at 22 grains, okay, what do you expect? Completely severe overpressurization. Both primers were blown out of the cartridge. Just severe signs of overpressurization to a point where I would consider this very dangerous. The casing is completely destroyed. The extractor ripped the rim off of the casing here, so this is completely overpressurized. So there we go. Conclusions are, you should probably not use pistol powder in 5.56. That's one. You could probably make it work with about 18, 19 grains of pistol powder in my particular setup. But I think this fast burning powder really creates pressure spikes that are a little much, at least for this cartridge. The muzzle velocity was surprisingly good, and when I saw 2,900 feet per second out of a 7.5 inch barrel, I knew something was up, right? I knew that I was getting way up there, and sure enough, after destroying the brass and having some fun at the range, gathering some data, I think I'm gonna clean this gun. Yeah. So that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you guys on the next one.